This video introduces you to the next deliverable, the context diagram. The context diagram and its associated PDF PPT will explain what they are. Really, context diagrams, just like use case diagrams and naively, are not made up of two components. Context diagrams are diagrams of the context that the software is going to run in. More importantly, the context diagram is the place. The first time you start naming all the actors, these actors in the context diagram are the same actors that are used in the use case diagram. So what is a context diagram? Well, I'm going to quickly run you through this PPT micro lecture on context diagram and quickly explain what they are. So basically, they're an artifact that enables you to think about your software in the context of where and the environment that it is working in. More importantly, it makes you undertake and make decisions. Those decisions are twofold. One of them is before you start hacking, which hopefully we will never do, the code together, you understand what's going into and what's coming out of the artifact and where it's going to. It's going to the actors. The actors are the human or non-human entities that move information into the artifact that you're going to develop and move information out. They are either duplex or simplex. Let's move on, and hopefully you've read this page yourself now. Context diagram are made up of two things. First, the context diagram is placed in the environment where you're building the software. Second, it has two other things that are important. One, the actor where the information is going to or from. Two, the interconnection, which is a straight line that connects the actor to the object, the artifact you're going to build. And finally, a message arrow that says the direction of the information, either into the artifact or out. So it's either simplex or duplex. Now, why are these diagrams important? Well, here's a very simple one for a calculator. It might not cover everything that you need to, and in fact, hopefully during this project I'll try and instill in you that every single diagram you do, just like this one, will be drawn up in the logbook by hand. And this one, like all other diagrams of its kind, like a use case diagram, also has metadata associated to it to make it up to a full diagram and associated data. So what is this diagram in front of us telling us? One, what this calculator program needs to work. It needs a user to enter data and receive or view data. It also needs a display which is external to the computer to display the data and a keyboard to enter the data. And that's just for this very simplistic context diagram. Now, what else does it need to be a real context diagram? Well, as well as having that diagram, it must have a set of boxes associated to each actor which tell you what the data content is and arrival pattern. Now, hopefully you'll do some research on this and look up what context diagrams are in other books, and you'll see that these are very important. Without these, you can't say, well, this actor is a file. Oh, wait a sec, this actor is information. Should it be a flat file? Should it be an XML file? Am I going to use some queries on it so it needs to be a database? And now you're starting to see that the context diagram is the time and the place where you start making decisions on the type of files you're going to input. What you're going to do with them in the use case dictates what type of file you might design here, as in XML you're going to parse, or a database file that you're going to query. So I'm going to just jump past some of these and you can have a look at these and have a go yourself and show you some typical context diagrams. This is only half of a context diagram, and if you only produce this you would only get half the marks for it. Also needs the metadata, the content and arrival pattern. Here you can see one of the things I'll try and train you to do for a context diagram is add two components. One is a log, two is a clock. Now you might say, why have I got a log and why have I got a clock? Well, if you're aiming for a first or a 2-1, the log is essential for testing. Now a bit later on I'll explain what a test harness is and test cases, and that every time you run a test case running a test harness, and you might use NUnit or JUnit, you don't just use and output their standard log file, you augment it and change the way it looks to add your name of your test cases and the date and other information. So I'll hone you a bit about what a good professional log file output looks like. And you need the clock because you're going to put the date and time on lines on that log file. The other thing you need the log file for is for going through and doing regression analysis. Now if you've never heard of this, it's the proper way of software source controlling and releasing code. That means we might have release 9, we're testing release 10 in our software source control hierarchy, but we won't release it until we've tested all the test harnesses on it and all the test cases, created a new log due to that full test, and then run that log against the previous log with the live file and see that they're exactly the same and no differences. And I'll explain that in more detail later. So let's just have another look at another context diagram, and you can see, depending on how you look at the project, they're all slightly different. So the important thing to think about now is that so far I've sent you 2 emails and 2 videos. You might think, oh, this project's all about software engineering and building things on paper and in my logbook. It's not. What I'm trying to get you to do is not hack code together. In a minute, in a short while, I'm going to send you a video and some information on a prototype table. That prototype table, which you should put in your first presentation in semester 1, will be a list of prototypes aligned to the requirement that they fulfill. Maybe before I need you to do that, I'll give you a table of requirements and show you that there's 2 tables of requirements. There's a functional and non-functional, which are directly derived from the features list that I sent you the last time. So now I'm going to stop and say, by now you should have 2 deliverables at least in your logbook. One's a features list prior to this, and 2 on 2 different pages is a context diagram, your first drawn by hand, and the tables of data and arrival patterns. Thank you for listening to this video on context diagrams.